the people I actually use, like my architects, my mortgage brokers, all these people are all from that Zim Property Investors Group.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thabo. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Just to let you know, we're good to go now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Cool. That's fine. So yeah, I'm gonna kick off. So BRR to Airbnb service accommodation strategies. There are 4 checkpoints which we're going to go through. Number 1 is the BRR strategy. What is it? Number 2 is the service accommodation. What is it? How can it be done? And where can it be done? Then number 3, we'll go through like a live case study. Then number 4 will be Q&A. Okay. What's going on? It's not moving. Sorry. Okay, what is the BRR strategy? So this is the buy, refurb, rent, refinance, and repeat. It's a property investment strategy where you actually buy a property, you add value to the property by refurbing it. You rent it out with your preferred rental method. So this can be Airbnb, which you're going to discuss in this presentation, or it could be a buy-to-let, which is a single-family let. It could be a HMO, which is a house of multiple occupants. So there are many rental strategies which can be incorporated into this BRR strategy. After that, the other R stands for refinance. So the refinance is when you actually release the money, you've invested into the deal, into the project. Then the other R, the last R, stands for repeat, which is where you repeat, you go again, doing the same method. And that's how serious wealth is built, my friend. What is the service accommodation strategies? So other people call it Airbnbs, other people call it short-term lets, other people call it short-term rental. What is it? What's the actual strategy? So this is when you let out your home, house, flat, apartment, room, caravan, shed, tree house, or even a houseboat on a nightly basis, exactly like a hotel. So you rent it out on a nightly basis, exactly like a hotel. Who can you rent out these to? You can let out your house to anyone, be it a holiday maker, contractor, truck driver, construction worker, key worker, temporary worker, and the list goes on. Why do this strategy? So this strategy has been known for high cash income because you rent it out on a monthly basis compared to the traditional long-term rental strategies where someone just pays you a monthly rent. So actually in this, you get paid every night when someone is staying in the property. So those are the definitions of BRR and service accommodation strategy. In the next 60 minutes, I promise I will give you the knowledge about these 2 strategies combined. As we've gone through the checklist, we're going to go through the BR strategy, the service accommodation, do a case study, and have a Q&A in the end. Okay, so the BRR strategy is the first thing which everyone knows about is the B, which is the buy. So there is a saying in property which says you make your money when you buy. This simply means you make money when you buy right. So buying right is when you buy a property below market value, is when you buy a property in the right location, is when you buy a property in a redevelopment area. So areas which are up and coming, areas which there is a lot of growth, areas which there is a lot of buildings, construction, etc. You buy a property in areas with good transport links. You buy a property to add value. You buy a property in high rent, where there is high rental demand. So areas with popular landmarks, like for example, hospitals, universities, schools, city centers, etc., where there is like loads of job opportunities, warehouses, industries. This is where you want to be buying properties because you know people around those areas will be renting out. So there is a high rental demand. So that's what the B stands for in the BRRR strategy. It stands for buy. Okay. The next question, which you probably asking in your head, how do you buy these deals, and how do you find these deals to buy? So in the UK, where we're based, there are property websites. For example, Rightmove, Zoopla, all these property portals are online, and they advertise properties through real estate agencies. So most, like, if anyone is thinking of selling something, they'll go to a real estate agent to say, look, I've got a property, I want to sell it. So those are the people with the highest stock of properties. However, that's not the only way you can find these properties. That's not the only way you can buy these properties. You can actually find the property direct to the seller. There are ways which you can get to the seller to find out if someone is selling a house. Examples of these are like if you send letters to a particular area, if you send leaflets. So in this case study, we're going to cover the leaflet strategy. So the leaflets is when you just send leaflets in a particular area, and someone can call you and say, you know what, I'm actually selling my area. And this is the same way the estate agents actually find the properties to sell. You can actually find properties as well in an auction. You can actually find properties using people who actually are like middlemen, which we call in the UK property sources. So these are people who act like estate agents, but they're not estate agents. They're in the middle of a deal between the seller and the buyer, and they're called property sources. You can actually buy properties through networking. You can be networking with other people, and someone will tell you, oh, my friend is selling a property, my neighbor is selling a property. That's how you can actually get to these properties before they're actually advertised, so everyone else sees them. You've got to them first before other people see them. You can actually find these properties through council websites, government websites. For example, the Glasgow City Council has got its own stock of properties which they sell. Like NHS is got like a stock of properties which they sell. So there are government websites where you can find these properties. So that's on the buy side. That's how you can find these deals. Okay. So the next thing you're asking yourself is why? uh, the reasons why people sell their properties below market value. So these are the people which we're targeting, which we call the motivated sellers. So there's many reasons why people actually sell their properties, and why people actually sell their properties for cheap. So people can sell their properties because they're relocating. People can sell their properties because maybe there is a divorce, which is an unfortunate event. People can sell their properties because they've inherited it and they don't want it, so they'll just let it go. People can sell their properties because they're in financial difficulties. They can't afford the mortgage payments, etc. So they just want to sell their properties. People can sell their properties because they're getting married. So a bachelor or a lady sells their properties, maybe it was a one bedroom, and they're getting married, so they move into a bigger property. So there's people can sell their property if they're upsizing or downsizing, and all these properties are also found on the council government websites and all these other websites which I mentioned before. Okay, so we're still on the buy, on the B. So the top tip, which I want to leave with you guys on the B, is don't always look for discounted properties, but instead look for properties you can add value to. So you look for properties you can uplift the valuation. So I'll give you an example in the case study of why I'm saying don't always look for discounted properties, where you go to estate agents and say, or can I'm looking for a property for below market value, etc. No, you just need to find a property where you think there is an opportunity in that property. Okay, so I hope I was clear on the B, but if you've got questions, just put them in a comment box, and I will come back to them after the presentation. So we're gonna move on to the next letter, which is the R, which stands for refurbishment. So refurbishment, this is renovating the property to enhance its condition, its functionality, and its aesthetic appeal. Refurbishment involves making significant improvements to a property building space, often which includes structural modifications, interior upgrades, and integration of modern amenities, etc. So that's what refurbishment means. Okay, so how? There are many ways to add value to your property by refurbishment. So these are the most common ones are like through an extension. So let's say you've got a property and it's got a back garden, and in the back garden there is space, and you can extend, maybe add an extra room. That's an extension. So that's actually adding value to your property. Let's say you've got a property, it's got a loft, an attic, and you can actually convert that loft to attic, add an extra room with an ensuite. That's adding value to your property. Let's say you found a property and it's got like some structural damages, some structural things, the holes are slanting, etc., and you can do structural reinforcement. That's actually adding value to that. These are like advanced strategies. You can also add value by interior renovation. But I know a lot of people think just taking a property and painting it. No, that's not adding value, my friend. That's not adding value. But interior renovation is like upgrading the kitchen, the flooring, etc. So this is more like modernizing the property. You can also add value of a property by layout configuration. So layout configuration is you've taken a property and you see, oh, there's a storeroom, but you don't want the storeroom. Maybe you change the floor plans, you make that storeroom another room, or you make the storeroom an ensuite room, etc. That's actually adding value. You can also add value by exterior. These are external improvements of the property. So this is how you add value. So painting the property only is not adding value. Okay, so we're still on the R, and the top tip, which I want to leave you guys with on the R, is when you're doing the refurbishment, when you're starting the refurbishment, actually reach out to builders, get 3 to 5 quotes from different builders. Don't settle with one builder who's just come in and quoted you. So just make sure you find different builders to give you a quote. Go see the builder's previous work or their current work in person. So if you decide to settle for someone, make sure you go see their project in person. Pictures only are not enough. So actually go ask to go see their work in person. The third tip, which I want to leave you with here, is benchmark comparables for your particular area. So if you are in Coventry and you want to add value, so you need to actually find out in that particular area in Coventry, what are people doing to the properties? What are people doing to add value to the properties? There's no point being in Coventry and now adding gold tabs and jacuzzis in your property, and you're now thinking, oh, you know what, I've added value, so hopefully my property valuation has gone up. No, it doesn't work like that. It always works with your comparables. What are people doing in your particular area where you've bought the property? Okay, so I don't know my speed. I hope I'm not going too fast, or I hope I'm not going too slow in this presentation. But the next R is the rent. So the rent refers to the payment made by a tenant to a landlord for the use and occupancy of their property. Rent constitutes a significant portion of the income generated by property owners. So we are in property to actually get the rental income. There is no other way. So having said that, when you're doing the BRR method, you always have to start with the end in mind. So when you want to buy a property, you need to think about it. Okay, I'm buying this property, but how do I want to rent it out? What's my exit strategy? How am I going to be renting it out and generating money? So know how you're going to generate the rental income. Okay, as I mentioned, so in this presentation, the rental income on the case study is going to be serviced accommodation, which is the Airbnb strategy. However, I want to touch on other rental strategies just for your own information. So you've got that knowledge. So you can actually rent out these properties as a buy to let, which is like the single family let, where you take one house and you give it an AST to single family, to a single person, etc. So that's the person who's got the tenancy agreement. You can actually rent out your properties as a house of multiple occupants. So this is like mainly house sharing. So you've got a house and you find 5 to 6 people are living the house, but different rooms. So you're renting out the house to 6 people, room by room, on a room by room basis. You can actually rent your property to like supported living. So these are like the caregivers, people who do various strategies, work with the council. So supported living is a rental strategy, but a business at the same time, because like the care can be complicated, etc. But like you can rent it out, and that supported living person is paying you rent. You can rent out your house on a social housing basis, which is different to supported living, because this social housing, you can be renting out the house to the council, to uh, to to the council, or to different charities, but like the charities are paying you the rental income, but they've taken like people on benefits, etc., and they're housing them there. But the council is the one, or the charity is the one who pays you rent. So there are other rental strategies, because you can actually rent out your house, or maybe if you've got a shop, you can rent it out, etc. So you're still what, generating rental income. Okay, so moving on to the other R, which is the refinance. So, excuse me. So there are many mortgage products out there. So it's important to get a good mortgage broker when you come to the refinance strategy, to the refinance point. So the mortgage broker will actually help you choose the best product for your rental strategy. Because if you use a wrong product on a wrong strategy, you're actually committing something which they call mortgage fraud. So if you're gonna do service, if you're gonna rent out the property as a service accommodation, you need to get a service accommodation mortgage. If you're gonna rent it out as a buy-to-let mortgage, HMO, commercial mortgage, or HMO mortgage, supported living, commercial, or a supported living mortgage, etc., etc. You get the gist of it. So also, the minimum loan to value most of these strategies give is 75% loan to value. What does this mean? This means you need to leave 25% of your equity in the deal, and the other 75% is the loan you get from the bank. But as part of the ZPI group, we did cover this mortgage topic, and we are going to share a mortgage link, the mortgage YouTube video which we have. The last R, so a lot of people don't know about this R, but like this is the last R stands for repeat. So once you've mastered the BRR method, you rinse and you repeat. That, my friend, is how you build serious wealth. So as Tony Robbins says, reputation is the mother of skill. So for you to scale, you need to carry on doing the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. So I've gone through like the whole like theory side of the BRR. So let's actually talk about the case study. So you can see there, that's a picture of me, my wife wearing the black jacket, and that's a seller giving us the keys. So this is like a property we bought in Glasgow in 2020 or 2021, I forgot. Yeah, so she's giving us the keys there. So it was a 1 bedroom flat, and we took that flat and converted it into a 2 bedroom flat. So I'll walk you through this case study using like step by step, starting with the B, then RR, etc. Yeah. So by the way, for this case study, I've got a YouTube video, which Musa will share the link after. So which shows like the details behind it, which we're not going to cover here because here in this presentation, we're just going to whiz through it. Okay. So how do I actually find this property? So we did this a direct to seller marketing approach where we sent out leaflets in that particular postcode, in that particular area which we're interested in investing. So we sent out about thousands of leaflets every day. It wasn't us. We hired a company which sent out leaflets in that area like for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We kept sending out leaflets. That marketing campaign only cost us about £3,000. Yeah. But lucky enough, this lady, the one you saw in the picture, called us and said, "Oh yeah, I've received your leaflet. I'm actually selling my house, but I didn't want to take it to any estate agents because they take time, etc., etc. What's the deal with you?" And we're like, "Okay, can we come meet you?" So we went to meet the lady. We spoke to her, etc. She told us why she wanted to sell is managing tenants is a headache. She's tired of them. She just wants to sell this house. It's their second property. She doesn't want to be a landlord anymore. Then we're like, okay, cool, great. So we did our due diligence to find out actually how much is the house worth, etc. So I found out the house was worth about 140, 150. That's what I thought the house was actually worth at that time. And we asked her what she asking price was, how much she wanted for this property, and she said 145,000. But then we negotiated with her, and we ended up agreeing a purchase price of 135,000. So when we shook those hands, we agreed the purchase price. She wanted 135. We got a surveyor to go into the property, and the surveyor came out of the property and said this property is worth 155,000. So we actually got it like 20,000 below what she was asking for. The next step was to say, when we looked at the property, I had seen the opportunity of the property that, you know what, this property is being sold as a one bed, but there is potential to actually add value to it, which is the next which we're going to speak about, refurbishment. So I looked at the property and I saw there was opportunity to add value to it, to convert it from a one bedroom into a two bedroom. Like the way I spotted it is like, I don't know how. It's just, when you go into a property and you see like dead space which could be used, etc. So when I looked at that, I knew there was an opportunity. We spoke to an architect. We came into the property. They also saw the same thing. They said, yes, this is possible. After that, we applied for planning permission from the Glasgow City Council for us to convert it from a one bedroom flat into a two bedroom flat. So yeah, so that was like the whole refurbishment of like conversion, etc., architect cost, buying everything, like taking the property back to brick, etc. As you can see there, the lads were working on it. That cost us about £30,000, like to fully refurb the property. So this was like so in the YouTube video you'll see like the before and afters, but this is like just top level of when it was just empty and the guys were working on it. So the next are still using the example of that property. So when the property was now fully ready, fully finished, and it was now a two bedroom with an one bathroom and an ensuite. So we rented the property out as an Airbnb, which is the service accommodation model. So this is the model where you rent out the property on a nightly basis. So in this slide, I'm going to touch on the service accommodation strategy as a whole. Like I'm just going to give you like top 10 tips on service accommodation. So we're still on the R. So number one, when you're doing service accommodation, know your target market. Know like the people who you want to rent out these properties to on a nightly basis. So is your property in a location where you're targeting contractors? So contractors are people like your builders, people like your trades who are coming into the city to do work. Like these are people who mainly come Monday to Friday. Then on the weekend they go back to their houses, etc. Or is your property targeting holiday makers? Is your property in a nice coastal area, in a nice holiday destination area where people come for holidays to relax, etc. So you need to know your target market, who you're actually targeting for that property. So excuse me. So for this property in Glasgow, we actually target both people coming for holiday and people coming to work, because it's in a location where we can cater for both people. So we optimize the property. We done it up to cater for both. So that's the key point about service accommodation is know your target market. Number two is when you're doing service accommodation, have your operations power team. So the operations power team, these are people like your cleaners. You need to have like good cleaners. You need to have good maintenance guys, because things do break. The ease, and you need to have like 24-hour response when like something is broken. As a guest as well, like maybe if you go to a hotel and there's a leak or something, you just call room service and someone comes to fix it. So in service accommodation, you need to actually operate like that. If there's a leak, if the guest calls you, you need to go sort it straight away. So you need to actually have operations power team. That's tip number two. Also, in service accommodation, you need to have strong systems, automation, and processes. I know these are like buzzwords to other people, but what I mean by this is like, for example, I'll say it as an example. If a guest books, Muzi has booked to come to Glasgow, like I need to have a system which is gonna block all the other calendars in the other platforms where you can book. I need to have a system which is gonna inform my cleaner to say Muzi is coming in on this day, is checking out on this day. So my cleaner needs to know that. And I need to like have like a system which is a 24-hour number, just in case Muzi comes in and there is a problem, so you can call me, or you can call my assistant to say, oh, look, I've got a leak or I've got a problem. But these things don't usually happen, but you just need to have them in place. So that's another tip for service accommodation. I'm just whizzing through this because it is a big topic. Service accommodation is a big topic on its own. So now tip number four is if you're a service accommodation provider, you need to actually have great customer service, because remember, I said you are actually operating as a hotel, because you're providing a service on a nightly basis like a hotel. So you need to actually have great customer service, friendly to the guest, communicate well, always communicate before and after, so you need to actually be on point with your customer service. Tip number five is guest screening. So I'm sure most of you I have seen in Facebook groups or other groups where like you see a guest who comes to your property, and they have a party, they destroy these things. As a service accommodation operator, we've all had those moments, but you also need to have systems, processes, and automations in place to actually avoid that. And one of them, a top example for this, is you can actually collect ID for someone who's coming, and this can be done automatically by a channel manager, etc. So when you collect that, and for example, you can see like, oh, today is the 25th of August, and someone is booking on the 25th of August, like that can be a red flag, because that means that person could be coming to party, But like if you see, yes, it's 25th of August, but like this person was born in 1940, you be like, okay, this is an elderly person, so what are the chances of them coming to party, So you actually need to have those things in place, and also that consciousness knowledge to say, okay, nah, this is fine, or this is a red flag. Yeah. I've highlighted the pricing strategy, and I know I've added it twice. There is a reason for that, and I'm going to come back to it last. We're going to move on to marketing and promoting. So as a service accommodation operator as well, so you actually, like a salesperson, you are selling beds, you are selling rooms for people to sleep on a nightly basis. So when you put your property in platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, where people actually see them and book, they must be appealing. So you need to have good quality pictures. So when someone sees them, they'll be like, oh, wow, I want to book the place. Not like when someone sees them, like, it looks dirty, the picture is not clear, etc. So marketing and actually promoting your places. So promotion could be like giving discounts, providing extra amenities, where like what your competitors are not providing, but you promote your properties by doing that. You promote your property by doing 10% off, all this kind of stuff. Those are like promotion, marketing and promotion. So you actually increase your revenue, you actually increase your sales. The next tip, which I'm gonna whiz through, is a streamlined check-in process. So you remember when I touched on the systems, automation, and processes. So, and I used the example of Muzi booking coming to Glasgow. So imagine like Muzi books, and every time someone books, I need to go through all the other platforms and close out the calendar, send him a message to say, oh, I've seen your booking, thank you so much. And if I'm doing that manually and I've got loads of properties, that's going to take out all my resources. I can spend the whole day doing that. So you actually need like automation tools called a channel manager, which will automate all this. Like, so when Muzi books, they'll reply him straight away, ask him, oh, thank you for booking, can you send your ID? Can you send ABC for you before we send the check-in details? We also, in this property, we collect deposit. This is how you pay deposit, etc., etc. So all these things can be done automatically if you know what you're doing with the correct systems, automation, and processes. The next tip, which I want to touch on, guest reviews and guest feedback. So everyone thinks, I mean, everyone is biased to their product. I think everyone thinks their product is great, but like until the second user gives you reviews, gives you feedback. So in the service accommodation business, like we take reviews, we don't take reviews lightly, because that's like the feedback which you need to improve for the next guest. When I did this case study, this property which I will show you, I only put mirrors in the bathroom, but everyone, all the ladies who book, like, oh, there's no mirrors in the bedrooms. I'm like, well, it's in the bathroom, but everyone kept complaining, until I said, you know what, they want the mirrors in the bedrooms. So we ended up installing mirrors in the bedroom. So it's something small like that, but like guests can notice and they can leave a review, they can leave feedback on that. But as an operator, you need to act fast on that feedback, so the next guest can see, oh yeah, this has been improved, this is good, etc. Because if you ignore these reviews, people will carry on leaving the same review, and other people will shy away and not book. you know the next tip is guest amenities. So these are like the uh, extra things which entice guests, the extra things which attract guests to your property. So as I mentioned to you, this will always depend on your target market. So if you're in a market where, like, in the area, people are putting a hot tub outside in uh in the garden. So like 9 times out of 10, like most guests who are looking in the area will expect a hot tub. So you can follow suit and start putting a hot tub. If you're in an area where like every operator has put like a coffee machine, etc., you need to follow suit, because like when the guests see other properties, they're more likely to book other properties than yours. So these are like extra benefits which automatically you add for guests, but it will always depend with your what target market. The last tip before we move on to the pricing strategy, which I want to give you, is having clear house rules. So having clear house rules, like, it's part of the guest screening. You will mitigate like having parties. You will mitigate people damaging your property. So you just have to tell them no parties, no noise between this time. or no extra guests, which no extra unregistered guests, so if there's any extra guests coming in, they will have to pay. If people want to bring in extra guests, they will need to ask to say, oh yeah, I've got someone who's gonna come visit me, So we always put that in our rules, so it's clear. Because if that person comes, they need to leave. Otherwise, if they sleep the night, they need to pay. You know. So the last thing which I wanted to cover is the pricing strategy, and this is how great service accommodation is, because you are in control of the pricing, and the pricing can also be based on your market. But if there is a high demand in your particular area, that means the prices can shoot to the moon. So with the pricing strategy, we use like a pricing tool. A pricing tool will tell you like a flat rate to say in that particular area, people are charging this, your competitors are charging this, you can also charge this, etc. So you've got a benchmark. You're not underpricing yourself, you're not overpricing yourself. Yeah. But the advantage of a pricing tool, yeah, if there is something going on in your particular area, probably in the future, which will make like your rates skyrocket, your pricing tool will give you that intelligence. And the reason why I waited to say this last, in Glasgow, where we currently reside and where we currently have this case study, there was an event in 2021 or 2022 called the COP26, where all the global leaders worldwide came to Glasgow. And the next slide, the prices which we're charging in these particular houses are going to blow your minds. So in Glasgow, for 2 weeks, we were charging £1,000 per night. And these are like properties which like before that they were £100 a night. So I don't know, like that's 1,000x or whatever x it is. But like, because this was based because of the supply and demand in that particular area. If we didn't have that pricing tool, if we didn't have that intelligence, we were gonna miss out on these. As you can see on the screenshots, like someone booked for 6 nights, they paid seven and a half grand. Someone booked for in the same property, which I'll show you, which we're doing the case study for. Someone booked for 4 nights, they paid 4.6. All these like 7 grand, and someone booked for one night, checked in Friday, checked out, checked in Thursday, checked out on Friday, and they paid £1,000. So if we didn't have that pricing tool,
I
we're
don't
going
know.
to
If I have enough what?
And so yeah, so in that period of time, in that time period for 4 weeks, it was a one-off event. We know that, but the main point which I'm trying to highlight this is like with your service accommodation, make sure you have a pricing tool which will give you intelligence of future events which are happening. Because this is when our service accommodation is great. This is when you can maximize. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the other R. So still using the case study, the property which we bought in Glasgow. So I mentioned to you, the asking price the seller wanted was 145. We shook hands at 135. But the refinance, so when the valuer came in to value the property as a one bed, they valued it at 155, if you remember in the other slide. So, however, as I mentioned to you, I've added value to the property. So it was a one bed, but we configured it out. We rejigged the layout and we made it a two bed. So the end value as a two bed was 210. So with the equity which we left in the deal, which is 25%, was 52,500. Then the new mortgage loan was 157,500. Then obviously we had to pay the old mortgage loan, and the profit which we made from that deal was 57,500. These are top level numbers. If someone wants to know this, I can go through with them in detail. Yep. So yes, unfortunately, that 57,500 didn't actually come to our pockets because it went off to our investors, the people who loaned us money for us to do these projects. Yes, the investors think they loaned us about 50K and they got like 57K, which was, yeah, to them they were happy, but to us we're happy to retain the asset. So yes, I didn't make that 57,500 profit, but don't forget I've been making nightly profit from this property because I rent it out on a nightly basis. So every day is payday on this property. The last R, which we're going to go through, is the repeat. So we've done this, we've gone through this case study. As I mentioned, the video is on my YouTube channel. There is another one which we did, and another one, and another one, and another one. That, my friend, that's how you make serious wealth, just repeating the strategy. Just to recap on what we've covered. So we went through the BRR checkpoints of what each letter stands for. We went through the service accommodation. We went through the case study, which was a live case study, a property we bought in Glasgow. We refabbed it, we refinanced it, and we're renting it out. We're still renting it out as a service accommodation. So the next thing, I know most of you have got questions, is to go through Q&A. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I hope I lived up to my promise of saying, you know what, I will give you value, and at the end of the presentation, you will know about what the BRR strategy is and what service accommodation is. I know we really went through this quick, but like on 30,000 feet as a top level overview, this is the best I could do. Thank you so much.
Nice one. Nice one. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Thabo. That was really, really good. Really good information. And just to reiterate to any of the guys that on the call and the guys that have just recently joined, we've got some questions that are in the chat. Thank you very much for the guys that did ask them. So I did say, please share the questions in the chat so we can just go through them. And if you do have any questions right now, guys, please drop them in the chat. I will ask a couple of questions of my own to start with, whilst other people are thinking of questions to ask and adding them into the chat, and then we'll go through them. So firstly, Thabo, that was a really good presentation. Appreciate you sharing such vital information, which is quite helpful. So I'm going to ask you, as someone who's not heard any of this before, you've shared some really helpful information and you've used some acronyms that I'd never heard of before, and you've cleared that out. But I'm really interested in buying houses and also using them for Airbnb as well, which is a really good way of joining the two strategies. So thank you for putting that across. But where do I start? What advice would you give me? Where would I start? Considering I've not actually heard of any of this stuff, what would you recommend I get started?
Yeah, so I think the best way to start is just absorbing knowledge and looking for someone who's done it before. So the quickest way to absorb knowledge is like maybe paying for a mentorship, and that will accelerate your learning. But if you don't have the resources to do that, just go on YouTube, and there are thousands of videos. I'll binge through all those videos. And just educate yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the main point.
Fabulous, fabulous. I love that. And I have to agree as well. These property strategies are really good. They can make you a lot of money, but it's really important that you get to know what you're doing. And so thank you for that. So my other question is what a lot of people are probably thinking now. I wouldn't be surprised if that question is in there somewhere. This is a great strategy. Buy the house, rent it out for service accommodation, and make a lot of money out of it. But what was important was the fact that you mentioned you need to add value to the house first as well. But big question, elephant in the room, where on earth do I get the money? Where's the money coming from, Thabo?
Yeah, so so if you remember, like one of the slides, I said I needed to pay investors. So I use that word lightly, but an investor can be anyone, could be Muzi, could be Charlene, could be Rosemary, anyone who's got that money sat in the bank doing nothing. So these are people who are saving up for something, or they've just got their money in their savings, but they don't know what to do. So you build relationships with those people, you find those people, you network with those people, and you tell them, look, I'm in property, I'm doing A, B, C, D. If you borrow me 50,000 in 12 months' time, I can give you back your 50,000 with a bit of profit on top, you know. And there are documentations which you sign, which are legally binding, just in case you fail to pay a person back. just in case you fail to pay that person back, you'll be what? You'll be in trouble. So that person can take you to court. They can uh ruin your reputation, etc. So yeah, it's yeah, the money part, I do get it, but once you put yourself, like, as I mentioned before, once you educate yourself, once you put yourself in a position where you believe in yourself, you believe you investable, you believe you can add value in other people's life and in your life as well, you can actually do these deals, and you can.
I love that. Love that. I love the piece where you're talking about believe in yourself and believe that you're investable and people will want to actually lend funds to you because essentially, like you've mentioned, you are actually helping them too. So it's not just about borrowing their money, you're also helping them because you're making their money work harder. So I love that, love that, love that. My final question before I go into the questions that I can see here, there's more questions coming down. Fantastic, brilliant, guys. Bring the questions in. And just to let you guys know, we're planning to finish at 7 o'clock. So we're not planning to go any further past that. For anyone who might be wondering at what point are these guys going to finish, 7 o'clock is when we're looking to finish, guys. So my last question, Thabo. And you've been doing this for a long time. You've got properties all over the UK, for ones that you've bought for service accommodation, some that you're renting for service accommodation, and all sorts of different joint ventures that you've done. What would be your top tip, right, for someone who's thinking, I want to get into property and I want to start as soon as possible because I don't know, I don't feel secure in my job anymore and I want a side hustle, which is something that I really want to do, which is property. What would be your top tip of what I should focus on?
Um, so for me, like the way I went on about service accommodation was the other way around, not the conventional way, where people actually start with the strategy called rent to rent. So where you rent a property from a landlord, then you do the operational strategy called the service accommodation. So that's property that's like an entry level way to actually start, because like one, there is no high capital involved. There's no 50K involved. The minimum involvement is like 5 6K for you to start that. So but we actually started the other way around. But with what I know now, and now with the position which I'm in, I would have like just started with those rent to rent, because there is less risk, and you actually build the cash flow. So for example, so if I like the 50 grand from the investor and I managed to get like 10 rent to rent, I would have actually, like, from the profits of those rent to rent, I would have got that 50 grand, paid off the investor. The following year, I'll get the 50 grand, buy another property, just like that. So most people who are in a position where they don't have the 50K, I'll suggest the rent to rent one. But it doesn't have to be the rent to rent one.
Hmm.
As I mentioned to you, Muzi, before, if you believe in yourself, if you find a mentor, if you find a coach, you get the education, you can actually start with the big deals.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love that. Love that. So the big message here is get yourself educated. Learn from other people's mistakes rather than just your own. So thank
For
you very
sure.
much for that, Tabo. I'm gonna start with the questions, and the first one I can see here is from one of the four Nyashas. Nyasha S says, "What methods do you use to benchmark comparables in a particular area?"
So benchmarking comparables of adding values, I study that area to see what's actually on the market for sale. Then I actually also study that area to see what is sold on that market. So like so if you go on Rightmove right now and you put your postcode, whatever, ZZZ, yeah, you see, okay, there are 50 properties which are selling right now in ZZZ. You look at how much they advertise prices. You look at like in Scotland they do something called the home report, so you can actually see the home reports of those properties. But if in England there's no home report, but you can study to say, okay, this person is selling a property 100 grand, it's a two bed. Then you look 6 months or a year ago, was there a similar property which sold for that 100 grand or whatever? Then you study the property. Is it refurb or is it unmodernized? If you see the property which is selling in the area for 100 grand, it was unmodernized, yeah. And
Mhm.
7 months, I mean 6 months ago, a year ago, another property sold in that area for 100 grand, and it's also unmodernized. That's now comparing like for like, apples and apples. But
Yeah.
if you, then you now need to think, okay, so what about if this property was modernized? So you're now thinking of adding value, the adding value aspect. You know, maybe in the area there's nothing which was modernized, but if you modernize that property, no matter what, it's not going to be 100 grand as well. That's when you now can what? Reverse engineer and call estate agents and say, look, I've got a property here. So maybe if the property you're looking at, you can say, I've got a property here, and you mention the next door property, even if you don't own it. Say, oh, I've got a property at number 5. It's a 2 bedroom, but I know number 6 are selling theirs, and it's a 2 bedroom. They're selling theirs 100,000. It's unmodernized, but mine is modernized. It's got A, B, C, D. How much do you think it will sell for?
Hmm.
So they'll give you a rough idea. Oh, you know what, if it's modernized, if it's got new bathroom, new kitchen, we think it's going to go for 150, 140. So then it depend on the type of person you are. You can be conservative with those numbers to say, wait, if they said 150, let me just act my numbers, play with my numbers on 130. Just like the worst case scenario. If you get 150, that's a bonus. So that's how I benchmark comparables. It's like playing with the data which already exists, but you
Mm.
need to play with the data in that particular area, because there's no point comparing with a different area. There's
Yeah.
no point for me to compare with properties in Coventry when I'm based in Glasgow. I need to be comparing with properties in Glasgow. Also, if I'm comparing with properties in Glasgow, it has to be properties in like a 1 mile radius, you
Yeah.
know, because Glasgow is big. There's north, south, west, east. West side the properties are expensive. I can't compare west side and east side. So benchmarking, it has to be like to the T. So I don't know,
Makes sense.
Nyasha, if that answers your question. If it does, just give us a 7, give us a fire emoji. We love them.
Thanks for that. If Nyasha, if you're here, feel free to unmute and just confirm that the question has been answered. In the meantime, I'll move on to your other question. Right, Nyasha S again says, how did you get the value of the property of 145K before getting the official valuation from the estate agent?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question, Nasha. So the 145 K was I checked the comparables of the 1 bedrooms which sold. So but like those comparables were actually not in the same block of flats. It was like another block which was like um about 1 kilometer away from that one. That's why it wasn't exactly to the T, but it was more like same for same, like for like building. That's how we got the 145K. But obviously,
Mm.
that property, which was 145K, is sold about a year ago or 2 years ago. I don't remember. So when the evaluate the valuer came in, he said, "Look, this is 155," and I couldn't have said no to that. I was like, "Okay, we'll run with that." you know. But like
Yeah.
I put 145 because I was more conservative.
Mhm.
So yes, you will never be. I don't think you ever be 100% to the T. There will always be +5, +10 difference.
Yeah. It seems like Nyasha's first question, the answer to Nyasha's first question is how you did the second question. Um, so in terms of how to do the comparables itself, so it was based on your own comparables and then having the official valuation to confirm where you're sitting. So thank you very much for that. Nyasha, I hope it really does answer your question. And if not, feel free to reach out.
Maybe just to quickly add on that, like
Uh-huh.
these comparables do exist. This is data which is open to the public. So if you go on Rightmove, you can see what properties have actually sold for, not a selling for. So if you see a property selling today, so in 6 months' time or in 7 months' time, go on Rightmove and you see how much did that person actually pay for that property. That's public data, so it's there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Charlene says you have mentioned that see what competition is doing in your area. How much are you influenced by competition? Also, is it not better to do your own thing so you have a USP? I think this is when you started talking about
That's service
service
accommodation.
accommodation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's always better to be different. But it's like you need to be different in a way where it's like a good different, you know. So you don't
Yeah.
want to be like different, like not you don't want to be different which is skewed to the competition. So if you like so a perfect example would be like if your competition in that particular area are providing single beds, you know, you can provide double beds. That's being different, right? That's like that could be a USP. But if your competition are providing single beds, you can't be going provide air beds. You know, it's like yes, you are being different, but come on, who would want to stay in the airbed? So like so yeah, it's always good to see to benchmark, you know, but benchmarking doesn't mean just copy and paste direct, you know. You need to add your own like flavor, you need to add your own recipe, you know, you need to add your own twist. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, so yeah, Shalene, I hope that answers your question. If it does, give us the money back, please. We love
Charlene, if you're here, could you just confirm, please, that question has been answered? And also, Thabo, could you help us with the
Yes, it has. Thank you.
awesome? Could you help us with the acronym? What's a USP?
it's a unique selling point.
Like we have to remember that some of us don't know what you're talking about. Simplify it for us, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so USP stands for unique selling point. So
Thank you very much. Right. So Charlene also says, do you charge per property per night or per person per night? Why have you chosen the pricing strategy that you currently use?
so we we charge per person per night. But we charge per person per night. Our benchmark being uh two. So like our base price starts on two guests because if it started on one guest, um, most people gravitate towards hotels because in that particular area there are many hotels. So we said, okay, the hotels are charging £80 per person per night. We will charge £80 per person for two people. So already we've put out the competition, you know. So then, if there is additional guests, so if like there's guests coming in, we'll say an extra £40 per guest or whatever our pricing tool advises us or whatever we want to put.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I think that clarifies that. Hopefully it does. And if it doesn't, Charlene, please feel free to reach out. Thabo can share more information about it. I'm sure he'll be happy to.
No, that's good. Thank you.
You're
Awesome.
welcome.
Awesome. Right. The other Nyasha has got a question talking about the B part on the BRRR strategy. How do you find out estimate value to determine property is under the market value?
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's a similar question to the other Nyasha. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a similar question to the yeah, but it's good they brought up this question because right now if you go on the news, like everyone is saying, oh, properties have gone down by 30%, but I'm like, wait, where do you see that? Because like actually
Mm.
properties go down, but when people start selling them at a value which is less than 30%, you know. So
Yeah.
which goes straight to the microeconomy, which I mentioned to in that specific area. So in that specific area, if there is 100 houses, yeah,
Yeah.
all the 100 houses are selling for 100,000, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, even if the market, the property market is down, if everyone is selling for 100,000, those properties will retain the 100,000 value. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Mm-hmm.
people in that particular area now start selling their properties for 80,000 because no one is buying at 100,000, like you see 10 people, 20 people are now selling at 80,000, so that means like the market is pushing the properties to be sold at 80,000.
Mm-hmm.
However, still in that particular area, same postcode, yeah, if people are willing to pay for that property, which is advertised at 100,000, if people are willing to pay 120,000, and 50 people want to buy those properties, that forces the market price up to be 100,000, So if you're seeing, like, if you're looking for, okay, what's the actual market value, you need to find the average value of those 100 properties, then
Mm-hmm.
once you find the average value of those 100 properties in that particular area, if the average value is 100,000 and you buy a property for 80,000, because you're the only one who bought it at that 80,000. Other people are actually buying at 100 or 110. You've bought below market value, my friend.
Mm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
One more thing. If the estate agents has advertised the property at 100,000, yeah, and you say to them, "Oh, I'll give you 80,000," that doesn't mean you've actually bought below market value, because the estate agents could have inflated the real market value of that property. They knew the real market value was 80,000. They advertised the property, which is called the asking price, at what? At 100,000. But the true valuation of that property could have been 80,000. So that's what people need to be very, very careful about when this word below market value goes around. Because Muzi, I remember when I started in property, I went to an estate agent and I say, "Oh yeah, the property is 250. I'll give you 230 because I need to buy below market value." So it's like, it's not like that. You need to actually study the micro market by yourself. You gather figures, gather data, see what's sold in the area, do comparables like for like, and that's the way surveyors do it. That's the way surveyors do it. They don't wake up with the number. There's no formula. They study the market. What's in that postcode? What's in that actual market? What are properties selling like? What properties they have sold for?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I
Absolutely.
hope that's clear.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you actually went into that, because I was going to drop a question myself so you can dig deeper into that. And I know you and me have spoken about this a few times following what people have said to us, but there's a big difference between market value and asking price. So people actually go around thinking they've bought properties below market value, and yet they've bought it below asking price. Asking price is none of your business. You need to understand what its market value is. So I'm glad you pointed that out, and it's a really important thing to get to know.
Yeah.
Super. Right. The next question was, how much was the refurb cost? We're talking about the one bed that you turned into two beds. What was the refurb cost?
So the refurb cost was 30K. That was like the refurb cost. But what I didn't put there was actually the cost to put furniture in the property, which cost us about 5-6K. Because yeah, we did go overboard in that property, like the beds, the mattresses. We didn't go cheap.
Next levels. Love it. That was a question from Kemsha Group, and I believe that's Emmanuel, if I remember well.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Thabo. Well done.
Fantastic. Thanks for the question. Thanks for the question. Next question is from iPhone. Nice to meet you, iPhone. says, how do you get these investors, please? Everyone wants to know, Thabo. That's what we're all here for. Who are they? Where can we find them? Send us their numbers so we can so we can borrow money too.
Hey, you know what? If I had that magic formula, I would be like on the Forbes list now. But like I say to you, and I know they in the property speak they're called investors, but to me these could be anyone. You know, like believe it or not, my plumber, the guy who does my gas certificate, is actually one of my investors because I did ask him, oh mate, you know, just from conversations speaking, he's like, oh, I've got 20 grand sitting there, I don't know what to do with it. You know, I'm like, are you sure? You know, I'm giving you an example to say an investor is anyone with money sitting in the bank and they don't know, not they don't know what to do with it, but it's like maybe they could be saving up for something, and that something which they're saving up for could take a long period of time. So you actually are trading a service to say, look, instead of your money sitting in the bank for 12 months, how about, and it's going to be eroded by inflation, how about you borrow me this 20 grand, I'll give you back in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time, with interest, which will combat inflation. You know, your 20 grand will grow to 25 grand, whatever your agreement is. You know, it's a win-win because that person could be actually saving for a house or saving for a wedding, big holiday. Some people save for different reasons.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
and these are the people you know through your networks. So, like, obviously, the first ones are like people you know, which are called warm leads. Then the next ones are people like who you don't know, but you've demonstrated what you do via social media. You documenting, you putting out yourself out through the YouTube stuff, etc. You know, people gravitate to you and they would want to work with you to say, oh look, I heard you speaking about blah 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 investors. How does it work? You know, you just show them how it works, and oh, you know what? I've got 5, 10K, and I want to try it out. You know, that's how you start building those relationships with. But I'm sorry, there is no website where you can go.
Ah, darn it. If you had said that at the start, we wouldn't have come to join this call. But yeah, and I think that's some really valuable information there. And from experience in what we discuss as well is one, you don't label them investors because it then creates a different barrier between the two of you. It's just anyone, it's just people. You actually meet these people on a daily basis. But the second really important thing that you touched about is getting them to gravitate towards you, which means you're the one who's responsible for offering the value so they know that you actually do collect the funds. You also do have some sort of value that they can bring the funds to. So you've got your YouTube channel, you're sharing all sorts of information on social media, and people will come and try to find out more information, even for your plumber to know that to tell you that they've got 20K. It's because you've got value for them. You've got some jobs that you're giving them and you're actually sharing this information. So it's about telling everyone what you do. So thanks for sharing that, Thabo. Appreciate that. Nyasha, the other one, says bridging loans for purchases. What are the pitfalls and criteria to qualify?
Yeah, that's a very specific question because that would depend on your circumstance and what type of bridging loan you've gone for. Because there are like bridging loans, like for example, development bridging loans, which look at the property, and there are like some small bridging loans which look at you as an investor as well. So it will highly depend. It will depend on what project you're dealing with. You know, there are some bridging loans, which could be done through crowdfunding, etc. You know, so obviously, like for you to get these loans, you need to have good credit. I think, um, like um, like the deal has to stack up, the numbers have to stack up. So which is actually good because the bridging loan companies actually do the DD to say, wait, are we investing in a good deal? So that's like another third party actually doing the DD for you. So if you see them wanting to loan you money, you know, you need to be smiling because it means your deal is good. You know, like you've passed through their risk assessment because these companies like work on risk and reward. They don't want to be lending money to like a high risk person, you know. So, and also they don't want to be lending money to a high risk deal. So you need to, like, for bridging loans, it's like two things they look at: the person and the deal,
Yeah.
you know. But like for if it's a big deal, they look more on the deal than the person. But for you to do a big deal, you would have like think I'll call something which is like experienced or a seasoned investor.
Yeah. No, makes sense. Makes sense. I hope that kind of clarifies that for you, Nyasha. And due diligence. That's DD. I'm helping Thabo out with these acronyms that he keeps throwing at us.
Sorry.
Thanks, Thabo. Thanks. Nyasha, I'm hoping that actually clarifies the question. Shingi?
And
Shingi?
no, wait,
I-
and sorry, just to add on Yasha. So actually, you know, with some of these properties, you can actually, like, there are mortgages which are called bridge to let. So you tell the mortgage company your end strategy, yeah, and within the same company that will give you a bridging loan, yeah, but the bridging loan will be the same interest rates as like the mortgage, your exit mortgage, yeah. Then after you do the refurb of the property, maybe after 6 months, you now go to the buy to let mortgage or your serviced accommodation mortgage. So these companies, that means you don't have to use two people. So you don't have to get your bridging loan from company X, then you refinance and go to company Y. So they're taking you from as company Y, like you do the bridge, then you actually do the mortgage with them. But they entice you by giving you lower rates on the bridge. So it's called bridge to let. But if you speak to your mortgage broker, they will give you that, you know, they are there, bridge to let.
have you actually taken any bridging loans, Thabo?
Yeah, I've taken a bridge to let. So this deal
Mhm.
was done on a bridge to let. So like the company calls it an advance. So they give you a mortgage with they gave us a mortgage with 135 for with the price for of 135. Yeah, we paid 25% deposit, which is about 30K. They gave us 100K is the mortgage. Yeah. Then after we
Fabulous.
added value to the property and we demonstrated we added value because they want evidence, you know, they want to see comparables. They send a surveyor in to look at all these things. Then you like we demonstrated it, and now after
Mhm.
they've seen that and they say, yeah, you're right, it's worth 210. So then they
Brilliant.
reconfigured and gave us the difference. So we didn't use like two companies. We just used one mortgage company.
Now that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah,
So,
so but you need a mortgage broker with that because it's
yeah.
everything is different for each individual. Because also we bought this uh, through a limited company,
Mhm.
you know. So
Okay.
yeah, you with a limited company, they are those are products are there. Maybe those products are not available if you're buying in your own personal name. So you actually, this is a very important topic to actually sit down and discuss with a good broker.
Ideally with a broker that can look at all your details. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm looking at the time. I'm concerned that there's some of the questions that we might not be able to go through. So Shingi says, wow. Charlene says, thank you. Thanks, Thabo. Thanks, Thabo. Really good. Nyasha's follow-up question is kind of similar, and I think you've touched on it as well. So considering we've only got 5 minutes, I may be able to touch on one or two of the questions, but just to find out from you, Thabo. So I've listened to everything that you've got to say today and some really valuable information, which could be really helpful for my journey, whether I'm at the start or I'm looking to scale from where I am. How can you help me? How can we actually work together? How can you support? Is that something that you've got?
Yeah. So I've created a 10-day Airbnb crash course. So this is like a low entry level where someone pays £30. They come in the group. They learn about the whole Airbnb strategy. But obviously, like with this, I've taken in mind like to say like people don't have that huge investment to buy the property. So in this one, we're actually teaching like how to get a property using the rent-to-rent model.
Yeah.
You get a property, you start operating it as an Airbnb. You scale up your Airbnb business to a certain number. You can get that deposit. With that deposit, you can now start what? Buying properties to your name. So that's another way to skin the cat. So this is something which is pretty much new. Launching it on the 1st of September, which is next week,
All right,
Friday.
nice.
Yeah, next week, Friday. So yeah, if anyone is interested in joining that, just DM me. I'm in the ZPI group. I'm the admin. So there's only two admins, myself and Moses. So you won't miss me. Yeah, so just DM me and we'll get you signed up. So the other thing which I'm always looking for funds from you guys, who I call my investors. So I know everyone is got money. You just have to ask until you get a no. So we've got huge projects on the pipeline here in Glasgow. We've got projects in Birmingham as well. So if you gravitate towards me, like and trust me, and you wanna work with me for a fixed return, you can get in touch as well, and we'll sort something out. So those are like the two services which I provide, and in the ZPI group, you can ask any question. We answer it. We can, yeah. So those are like that's actually another third service as well. So yeah. So if or hopefully everyone is in the ZPI group here, and you can direct DM me, and I will give you the link.
Superb. So for anyone who's on the call today who is not in the Zim investors group, I've just put in my number, and if you're interested in being part of the group, please feel free just to drop me a message and you'll be part of it, and you'll connect with Thabo in there as well to get the link for the crash course that Thabo is talking about, which I have actually signed up to as well, and it sounds really good to share some information. So for anyone who's seen Thabo's new YouTube channel where he's sharing some detail about Airbnb and the business itself, you will see the amount of value that you'll be able to pick up from that. So I would recommend it. I would recommend it as well. So feel free to reach out using that number and we can connect in there. Right. I'll ask one more question and we're coming to a close now. I'm just going to pick one at random. So iPhone 5 says, thanks, Thabo. If you buy as a cash buyer, when you say refinance, does that mean the bank or lender will give you the money back, cash invested plus the equity and 25% of the retained? Can you just talk through the refinancing process on a cash purchase?
Yeah. So if you buy through like as a cash buyer, is you still go through like the same refinance way. So we'll do the example using my numbers. So I bought the property for 135, right? So you must have paid 135 in cash. Yeah. So when you're now going to refinance the property, because the property is now worth 210, yeah. So you tell the bank the property is now worth 210. They do their checks, and they see it's worth 210. Yeah, and you must leave. So when you're now getting a mortgage on the refinance stage, you always leave 25% equity, which is gonna be your 52 something, your 52,000. Yeah. Once you left that 52,000, you've left it. Yeah. The other money, which is gonna be I don't know, someone help me with the math. 157, whatever, that money will come to you, to your pockets. So you've got your 135 cash, which you paid in, and also the profit because of the uplift of the property. So it's the same thing, but obviously right now you're not paying the first bank who helped you get the property, or the first senior lender, as they call them in property. I hope that's clear.
Yes. So iPhone 5, I'm hoping that clarifies your question. And just seeing your message now, it says, thank you. Absolutely makes sense. Brilliant. That was a good question as well. Thank you very much for asking that. Apologies for any of the questions that we haven't managed to touch on, but if you'd like to reach out using the number that's on the chat, feel free to come and connect with us in the group. And for any questions that you have asked or would like to ask that haven't been answered yet, feel free to reach out and Thabo would be happy to share any more information and spend some time with you guys. All right. again, on behalf of the ZPI team, Thabo, thank you very much for your time and the knowledge that you've just blessed us with, and appreciate the time given by all the people that have joined us on the call, and all the guys that are watching this on the YouTube channel as well. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Muzi. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Right, I'm going to stop recording now, and right.